Imagine being turned into a scientific experiment before you were even old enough to speak. A healthy baby boy was born in Canada in 1965, but after a tragic medical accident, his life would be changed forever. What followed became one of the most controversial psychological experiments in modern history. For years, scientists claimed it was a success. The truth, however, was far more disturbing.
On August 22, 1965, identical twin boys were born in Winnipeg, Canada. Their names were Bruce and Brian Reimer. The brothers appeared perfectly healthy and developed normally during their first months of life. To their parents, they were simply two happy children with an ordinary future ahead of them. But fate had something very different in store.
When Bruce was around 8 months old, doctors recommended a routine procedure to correct a minor medical issue. At the time, it seemed like a simple operation. Instead, it became a catastrophe. Due to a malfunction during the procedure, Bruce suffered irreversible damage. His parents were devastated. Medical science in the 1960s offered very few solutions for a case like this. Desperate for answers, they began searching for help.
Their search eventually led them to Dr. John Money. Money was a respected psychologist and researcher whose ideas were attracting worldwide attention. He believed that gender identity was primarily shaped by upbringing and environment rather than biology. To him, Bruce's case represented a unique opportunity, a chance to test his theory on an unprecedented scale.
Money proposed a radical solution. Bruce would be raised as a girl. His parents agreed. Bruce was given a new name, Brenda. From that point forward, everyone around him was instructed to treat him as female. The experiment had begun, and the world had no idea it was taking place.
As Brenda grew older, problems quickly emerged. She rejected many aspects of the identity that had been assigned to her. Teachers noticed unusual behavior. Classmates saw her as different. At home and at school, she struggled to fit into the role that others expected her to play. The emotional pressure became increasingly difficult to bear. Despite these growing difficulties, John Money continued publishing reports that described the experiment as a remarkable success. His findings were cited in academic journals and textbooks. Many researchers accepted the case as proof that gender identity could be shaped almost entirely by social influences. For years, few people questioned the story. But behind the published reports, reality looked very different.
For many years, the public only saw the version of the story that appeared in academic publications. But behind closed doors, disturbing details remained hidden. As David and his twin brother grew older, both reported experiencing severe emotional distress during therapy sessions. According to later accounts, some of the methods used by John Money would eventually be criticized as unethical and deeply inappropriate. What had been presented as a scientific success was beginning to reveal a much darker reality. As more information became available, researchers began re-examining the case. Many discovered a major problem. The published reports focused heavily on evidence that appeared to support the theory, while minimizing signs that the experiment was failing. Critics argued that the case had been used to confirm a conclusion that had already been decided in advance. Instead of objective observation, they saw evidence of confirmation bias, a scientific mistake that would have consequences far beyond a single family. For decades, the David Reimer case had been cited as evidence that gender identity was primarily shaped by environment. But as the true story became public, that conclusion was increasingly challenged. Researchers began questioning whether biology played a much larger role than previously believed. The case became one of the most influential examples in modern psychology of how scientific theories can be distorted when evidence is selectively reported. It also sparked major discussions about ethics in medical research involving children. By the time Brenda reached adolescence, the situation had become unbearable. Depression, confusion, and emotional distress had become part of everyday life. At the age of 14, David's parents finally revealed the truth. The child they had raised as Brenda had actually been born male. For the first time, the mystery of his lifelong discomfort began to make sense. After learning the truth, he immediately rejected the identity that had been assigned to him for years. He chose a new name, David. Determined to reclaim his life, he began medical treatment and reconstructive procedures. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time, he felt he was moving toward the person he had always believed himself to be. Yet the emotional wounds left by years of experimentation never fully healed. In 2002, David's identical twin brother Brian died from a drug overdose. The loss devastated him. Family members later described David as struggling deeply in the years that followed. The burden of the past remained impossible to escape. In May 2004, David Reimer took his own life. He was only 38 years old. His death shocked many who had followed his story. What began as an attempt to prove a scientific theory had ended in tragedy. And the consequences would continue to echo throughout medicine, psychology, and ethics for decades to come.
Today, the David Reimer case remains one of the most discussed examples in the history of psychology. It transformed conversations about gender, identity, ethics, and scientific responsibility. For many researchers, it serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that science is not only about theories and data, it is also about human lives. And when those lives become experiments, the consequences can last forever.